Well, good morning, folks. It's wanted to get y'all's work day started because I know everybody's got at least 4 or 5 committees they're going to go to today. I hope we. Oh, goodness. Y'all would be surprised that some of the emails and text messages we get while we're sitting up here. No, they're not getting personal. You've heard of the term begging and groveling and this kind of stuff. Okay. But Ms. Lewis, would you ask Senator Mullis to come in, please? Yes, ma'am. Senator Mullis.
Mr. Chairman, I'm so
Good morning,
glad
sir. I like to work with my fellow rules chairman, so I know you got to get back to work.
Indeed.
Because you're going to be getting House bills out, right?
That is my plan.
Okay.
But sometimes there are other voices higher than me that has other plans. And thank you, Mr. Leader, for working things out. I'm grateful. But I'll get on with it, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for having me this morning. Senate Bill 255, and first off, I don't know what happened to me this year. I have too many bills. I don't know. I kept saying
we've
yes.
been thinking about that too.
Yeah, I agree. I kept saying yes. But this is the border bill, and I'll give you a quick explanation. My district touches Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I hate that orange color up there in Tennessee. But they have a border bill that they have taken business that I was going to recruit and put it in Chattanooga, and that's just not right. Now, so this will help every county around the border, perhaps, and I will tell you, some people have asked me, well, where did 10 miles come from?
Yeah, that's what I want to know too.
I pulled it out of I pulled it out of there, and I'm good with changing that. Whatever the wisdom of the House wants to do is fine with me.
Well, you know, I've heard such things as, making it for counties that are contiguous to the state. But then if you look at some counties, and I'm not picking on Ware County, but, if you do that with Ware County, you go 70 miles up into the state. It's the largest county in Georgia.
Great County's on that western border is what I'm concerned about, to make sure they're taken care of.
Okay.
And whatever you think is best, I'm agreeable to.
All right. Well, I got Representative Williamson that's got a question for you.
Uh-oh. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Chairman Muller, serious question. You said that legislation is in effect in Tennessee. They have a border bill.
What's their mileage?
That's my question.
I don't really know their mileage, to be honest with you. I think it's the contiguous counties. But East Ridge, which is a suburb of Chattanooga, they got Bass Pro Shop and that Top Golf and several big restaurants and other big retail. And I'd rather not go out behind the building and whoop their fanny. I'd rather you help me here and help all of our counties on the border.
Okay. Chairman Hatchett.
Senator Mullis, I just was curious as to when your luxurious committee would be meeting again so our House members could hopefully get some of their bills out and on the floor. Let
me tell you, I'm advocating as well, and I think that is just, when I leave here, I'm going to that office, and I will text you when that will happen. How's that?
You think there will be one today?
Yes.
Okay, just curious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Chairman Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to thank the gentleman. I have 3 little counties on the border with Florida and Alabama. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Chairman Hawkins.
I appreciate you bringing the bill. I just wondered how, you got this 10-mile. Would you pucker up for 5?
I think a little further would be better.
Further?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, to make sure get places like Callaway Gardens or other
Okay.
important factors on our bordering counties. We just won't be able to get Lake Lanier a little too far in.
Anything contiguous then, right?
Well, whatever this committee
All right,
wants is
okay.
good with me.
All right.
And of course, there is the Tourism Investment Act, which covers the entire state. And I would recommend if you got a tourism kind of applicant, I would push them that direction.
Okay. No more questions. Thank you, sir.
I'm honored. Let me know
And-
what I can do for this.
And let us know when we can go to rules in the Senate.
Yes, sir. I will.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thank
You too. Mr. Harper. Morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee. Good to be with you again. You want me to?
You have Senate Bill 198 and Senate Bill 213.
Yes, sir. Senate Bill 198 is a bill that, in the code currently, there is a listed amount of hours and an amount of money that the General Assembly, if appropriated, would be given to members of the Department of Public Safety as an incentive pay. What this does is it moves that code section in another code section, deletes the hour requirement, deletes the amount of money, and gives and if we so to choose to appropriate any funds, it gives the commissioner the authority to make that incentive pay for educational purposes available to the members of the Department of Public Safety. That's Senate Bill 198, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a question in the back. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Senator,
Yes, sir.
appreciate you bringing this bill. I just had one question, and we certainly want to support our Department of Public Safety. But I was just wondering why nothing passed that thought about legislators here in the Capitol. Nothing came from the Senate on that issue except no, no, no. Just wondering.
I understand, Representative Williams. That is true. There, we haven't passed anything addressing those of us that serve under this building, but we have passed a few things to take care of the folks that work for the state of Georgia and ensuring that they're taken care of and seen after, and we want to make sure that that continues to be the case. But if y'all pass anything over to us in the Senate regarding the legislature, I'm sure we'll give it the highest consideration to my good friend.
I'm sure you will, my friend.
Yeah, it was gonna be.
You were gonna put it on?
You wanna hold it?
Yeah, hold it. I mean, we're gonna do it.
Okay. Chairman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. To my esteemed counterpart over in the Senate, my bill what's Vance Smith's bill is still nesting in your committee, and we're hoping that there's some way it can move. It passed the House with only 2 dissenting votes. So thank you for your consideration.
Madam Chairman, I suspended my committee meeting to be here at 9 o'clock, and that bill will be taken up as soon as I leave this particular House committee.
Now, you know, that's the kind of thing I like to see the Senate do. You know, they hold off their meeting so they can come talk to us.
I did, Mr. Chairman.
And I appreciate that. Chairman Fleming.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question about one of the senator's bills that you didn't mention, but I don't want to waste committee's time. It's Senate Bill 260. Should I ask it now or not?
Let's wait till he comes and presents 260.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So you had Senate Bill 213?
Yes,
now?
sir. Senate
Okay.
Bill 213 is a bill that kind of arose out of an issue with one of my local school systems dealing with energy savings contracts as a way to finance capital projects. There's really some it's not real clear in the law whether or not local school systems can use eSPLOST dollars for that purpose. This clarifies the law to allow them to do that and address that issue and help our local school systems across the state. That's what Senate Bill 213 does, Mr. Chairman. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I see no questions. Before you leave,
Yes, sir.
in regard to Chairman Fleming's question, I guess it's Senate Bill 260. Could
Yes,
you
sir.
present 260?
I can, yes, sir, and I appreciate you giving me that opportunity to do Senate Bill 260. As you know, Senate Bill 260 was sent back to Ag Committee by this committee, and we made a change, and the House Ag Committee made a change and a substitute, which is now back before you in the Rules Committee. And that change was it would require the owner or operator of a farm to have a nutrient management plan in place in regards to soil amendments. And I can dive off into all the details of what that entails, but we believe that by doing this will address a lot of the issues that have been brought forward over the last week or two in regard to the underlying bill. It still has the other language in regards to the buffers and the forest products and the byproducts, et cetera. But by adding that nutrient management plan, I think it addressed a lot of the questions in that regard, and that was the change we made, or that was made by the House Ag Committee.
Well, you know, most of the larger commercial farms and even private farms that are very successful all have a nutrient management plan.
That's correct.
All right. Chairman Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, my question goes to line 28 and 29 of the bill on page 2. And please correct me if I'm mistaken, but we have passed legislation through the House and Senate before dealing with this issue of byproducts like chicken leftovers that are used for litter, that is, well, and other processing stuff that's left over used for fertilizer. And the problem we've tried to address is that people are spreading this not just as fertilizer, unfortunately, but sometimes as a way to get rid of it and calling it fertilizer because they can do it that way. And I know we're trying to address all those problems. But my question is about line 28 and 29. We had allowed our local governments to have setbacks so that my house can be a little bit further away from where they're doing this spreading because it kicks up quite a smell. And you're limiting on line 29 the ability for the setback to be only 100 feet. And if I was only 100 feet away from this, I would be greatly concerned. And I'm just wondering, what is the rationale from doing that rather than letting the locals decide how far away you need to be from it?
So Representative Fleming, to your question, I don't have the bill in front of me, but I know exactly what you're talking about in regards to the buffer. This was a discussion that came out last year when we were working on House Bill 1057, which was the original bill that we passed. We actually worked on some buffer language in the Senate. The fear was that we didn't have enough time before sine die to get the bill across the finish line. There was an agreement made that we will work on the buffer language this year, and that's why we're here back with this particular bill that's in front of you. If you look at Georgia Code and look through Georgia Code and where we address issues like this when we're dealing with buffers, the most extensive buffer under Georgia law is 100 feet. There's 25, 50, and 100 feet buffers under Georgia law. And nowhere else in Georgia law do we have unlimited buffers. The issue in this is that we're giving local governments unparalleled authority that we've never gave them before, especially when it comes to agricultural products related to this particular issue. If all 159 counties adopted certain buffers, you could exempt out the entire state of Georgia, and obviously that was not the impetus or the plan behind House Bill 1057. So 100-foot was the agreed upon language by a lot of the parties that were involved, and we felt that that's just in conformity with what current state law says in regards to buffers. Anything, when you really get into buffers and you start talking about buffers, and I can talk about this a long time and I'm not, but you're really talking about taking somebody's private property. And where we have 100-foot buffers under state law, most of that is on state-owned property anyway in Georgia. Most of the private property has 25 or 50-foot buffers. There really aren't any 100-foot buffers on a lot of private property across our state. So this is even new in the Georgia Code when we're putting a 100-foot buffer. I think the 100-foot buffer is fair, and with the nutrient management plan, putting it in place, and when the folks are doing it like they're supposed to, you won't have the issues like you're addressing, because soil amendments are actually put under the ground. They're injected into the ground, and it's actually beneficial to the farmer and the producer. In some cases, saves a lot of our farmers $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a year in fertilizer cost. So there's a benefit to this, and we have to weigh all the options in this regard. I think 100 foot is fair, but I appreciate your insight on that.
Well, you mentioned taking folks' property, and I wouldn't put it that way, but since you said that, we've already decided we're going to do that by 100 feet. You and I are just talking about by how much now, right? And I'd
Well,
love to see
I would argue, Mr. Chairman, that 100 foot has stood the test of time in Georgia law, and 100 foot has been found to be fair, apparently, under Georgia law. I think you go any further than that, you really do get into the conversation of taking, and I don't know that we really want to go down that road.
Well, just one last question.
Yes, sir.
Before you added that lines I'm talking about, did we have any issues of taking?
Yes.
There are some buffers that are, I think Chairman Jaspers said it as eloquently as I could have. There is a, and I'd be happy to talk to you more about this offline, Representative Fleming.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
If you would like to do that.
All right, Whip Kelly.
Thank you.
Okay, try it now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I share some of these same concerns. I'm dealing with this issue in my district right now, and my concern and understanding of traditional buffers is we're dealing with something that can be different here in terms of smell and odor. And I've gotten a report recently that a member of my community is doing this, and they meet all the requirements under law, but I'm still getting a lot of concern and pushback from members of that community about the smell and the odor. And so I guess my question would be, one, I don't share the takings concern, because when we to have an invalid takings, it means you completely reduce the ability to use that land for value, and we wouldn't be doing that by increasing the buffer. So my question would be, would you be open to an amendment that would extend this buffer further?
I have not seen your proposed amendment without.
I don't have one yet. I'm just asking you.
Just to be honest, no.
Okay. I was just trying to see if I could vote for it or not. Thank you.
It depends on what the amendment would be to the whip.
Thank you.
Chairman Jaspers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, isn't it true that the buffers generally that we're talking about are directly related to protecting water resources?
Yes.
And that's been our focus with buffers continually, is protecting the state waters and the use of waters in communities, and that the nutrient management plan that you described has been a key asset,
yes,
to farmers and communities to protect water resources. And I think that's the nice addition to your bill, was to do that. I think bringing smell and other things into this are not relevant to what you're talking about in this bill. Is that true?
That would be accurate.
Thank you.
Chair Lady Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm not tacking on, but
Oh, excuse me. What's the matter with your voice?
I think I need something stronger to drink.
I'll turn the volume up.
So, to add to these layers of buffer discussion, one of the things about private property rights is that our local governments are still valuing property, even though this property owner has limited use of the property. So the buffer argument keeps going on. There are citizens who demand buffers to our quarry mining. There are citizens who demand buffers for all these different things. So I know this is an active discussion, but one of our biggest problems is local government, and they're still taxing property at full value when there is a takings already of their property. So I don't have the answer to this problem, but I just know when chitlins are being made when I go to North Augusta. So.
Okay. Who said, Chairman Knight?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Harper, I guess a question, and it's been brought up in regards to smell and I guess complaints from neighboring property owners. But in past experience in regarding agriculture, I have a personal experience with a family friend who's a farmer, in which the development had encroached upon farmland, and all of a sudden, you know, the farmer had been there farming for years, but all of a sudden the neighbors are complaining to the local government about smells, whether that be in regards to fertilizer or other issues. what protects the farmer who's been there for perhaps decades from the encroachment of development? Is that what this is intended to do?
Representative Knight, to your question, and I appreciate it. I would argue that is one of the underlying intents of this bill, is to protect the number one industry in our state, the producers and the farmers and ranchers in our state. I think that's the purpose of this General Assembly, to ensure that we have fair and equitable laws that apply across the board to allow individuals to practice and to be able to exercise their rights and operate their operations and their farming operations. And I believe that this is a fair measure that addresses that. And I believe that the way that this is outlined, that we've put some additional language in there that come back from the House Ag Committee that helps address a lot of the concerns that have been brought up this morning. And the problem is there have been a lot of bad actors. I'm not going to dismiss that. And those bad actors have been the impetus of a lot of the problems and the reason for 1057 last year. And a lot of those bad actors have been the subject of EPD sanctions and sanctions from the Department of Agriculture. And that's where we should be. I know in the budget the House passed, we put some additional language in there for a soil scientist and an agronomist and an enforcement officer in the budget. And we need to make sure that gets across the finish line, because that's going to give the Department of Agriculture the tools it needs to implement 1057 and 260 if we're able to get 260 across the finish line. And I think what we're going to see is over time this will be addressed, and we will be able to get it addressed. And I think that moving this forward would be the right thing to do. And back to Whip Kelly's question to the Whip, if you have an amendment, I'd be happy to look at it and give you my opinion on it. But without seeing your amendment, I would not be in favor of it unless I saw it. But obviously, that's up to this Rules Committee to decide what it does. And I look forward to working with y'all on that moving forward, and like to see this bill move forward, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. In regard to Chairman Knight's comments, those kind of things do happen. You don't want to build a house downwind of a hog farm. They do it, and then they complain. Unfortunately, sometimes the farmer loses, even though they've done everything right. It's just one of those things, unfortunately. All right, Chairman Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We don't do much farming anymore up in North Fulton, but I did want to make sure I understood. Your additions on line 20, I know you don't have the bill, but
Chairman, could you take your mask off?
Yes, sir. You don't have the bill, but what you're doing is you're adding additional things that are excluded from the regulation.
That's in the byproducts language.
Right.
That's
So
correct.
I was just looking at, normally if you're adding some more exclusions, you'd be concerned about perhaps increasing a buffer, and that's just what bothers me, is you're adding some more things that are excluded, and then you're also limiting the buffer. So I believe that's what the whip is looking to talk to you about.
To your point, on the exclusions that are added, that was an oversight last year. That was supposed to be in the original language. We did not address that. Forest products were completely supposed to be exempt, and that takes care of the rest of the forest products that were supposed to be exempt. And that was an oversight in 1057 last year to Chairman Martin.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. No more questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, bring in Representative LaHood. House Resolution 406. House Resolution 406. Morning, sir.
Good morning, and thank you for hearing my bill, Mr. Chairman. This is House Resolution 406, and it's just it's an urging resolution, and it's urging the Georgia Emergency Operations Plan to prioritize more of the long-term care service support network in its planning for emergencies. And I can go in more detail if you'd like me to.
Well, I don't see any questions. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right, Senator Burke, he has really generated a lot of phone calls. The last phone call we got before we walked out of the office was in regard to his bill here, Senate Bill 46. I got a question I want to ask you before you get started.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
There was a question, and every call we've been getting relates to sharing of health data with a third party. Has that been answered?
Your whip helped us with that, Mr. Chairman. Came up with some language I was happy with.
Okay, well, go ahead and tell us what it is. Or go ahead, just do the bill. I just want to be sure that's been answered, but go ahead and do your bill.
Well, Senate Bill 46 is a Department of Public Health agency bill that modernizes the vaccine code and puts into code some of the improvements that have been made during this COVID crisis. The section that's been giving people heartburn is Section 3, and in between lines 58 and 62, we use the language the whip suggested to try to ameliorate everyone's concerns.
So it's only available to the CDC?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. All right. Lady Cooper.
I think if you look on lines 68 of the, let's see, it starts at 68. Wait a minute. Okay. Individual identifiable.
Sharon, Ms. Cooper.
Okay. Thank you. Individual identifiable vaccination registry information shall be treated as confidential and shall not be released to a third party without consent of the persons or the person's parents, guardian of the person is 18 years of age or younger. What they're telling me at the department, that is the exception, and it's an exception for all vaccines.
Okay. Well, I see no more questions. Thank you, sir. Hold on. Chairman Jaspers.
I'm sorry, Chairman Burt, my friend. I think people that have contacted me and everyone in this room is line 51 and 52. And is there a way that this can be written without that? Because they see it as a direct, just taking away of someone's private knowledge, because it says without the consent of a person or person's parents or guardians. And I know it can say all sorts of other things throughout the bill that kick that back to us. They're not doing it, but you know, our constituents and the people that are concerned about privacy really are on fire about those two lines.
I'm just not sure how we can get the information that CDC requires without that line. I've not seen another mechanism, and we're getting that vaccine from the federal government for nothing, and those people that are that upset about that particular issue have the choice to not get the vaccine. So it's not like we're mandating anything. They don't have to provide their information because they don't have to get the vaccine.
Shirley Cooper.
Okay, unfortunately there was a Scribbler's era. That is not new, but the reason that it's underlined is because whoever did this bill moved it down to line 63, and you notice it's marked through there, and it was put back where it was originally in the law. But Section 2 says you can take the vaccine and you don't have to let them have your information. It's my understanding that is for all vaccines, and
that's correct.
I'll verify it, but they have the right to opt out of giving their information on all vaccines.
Okay, Chairman Knight. Or is it Chairman Martin?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Doctor. I believe in the previous iteration of this bill, I brought up the concern that a doctor, a constituent of mine, had brought in, and the whip worked with the doctor on the language. And I would agree with Madam Chair Cooper that the information on line 63, before 58 and 62 were injected in the bill, is not true, that these normal processes were already in Georgia law. It's just we're seeing that without the consent of a person in front of paragraph A and B now, whereas prior to it was in the law. having the same operational impact after. Is that not true, Doctor?
That's true, and that was a decision by Legislative Council because they felt like it made more sense to change it.
Yes, sir. So relative to the new things, that has been addressed. The new vaccine, the emergent issue around the pandemic has been addressed, but A and B paragraphs exist if this bill passes as they do in current law now. Isn't that
That's right.
true?
It doesn't change current law.
Charlie Cooper.
But
last comment.
Okay, but having called several times about this, even on regular vaccines for children and all, if the parents don't want to put it or the person doesn't want it, they are telling me at Public Health that they are exempt and they don't have to give them their information. And I said, you mean, how are we going to tell our schools that these kids have been vaccinated if they ask for it? And they said, well, if the parents don't want their information in there, they don't have to put it, thanks to Section 2.
He's got something he's got to do.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
Ms. Lewis, would you let Mr. Cantrell in, Representative Cantrell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just here to present the committee substitute for Senate Bill 100, which is the equivalent to House Bill 44 that you guys passed out, which would take Georgia to permanent daylight saving time pending congressional approval.
And that's the one that passed the House and it's in the Senate. And
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anyone, any questions? Seeing none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Senator Gooch is next. Senate Bill 47. Senator Gooch. Morning, Senator.
Good morning. How are we doing?
We're good.
Good. Senate Bill 47 is a bipartisan bill that came out of your Education Committee this week, that it opens up access to the Georgia Special Needs Scholarship. Currently under state law, it's the IEP students that are designated with an IEP plan that can utilize these scholarships. There's roughly 54,000 students that have access to them. This bill expands that to allow students under a 504 plan with certain diagnosis to also get utilization of that scholarship program.
Any questions from anybody? All right. Oh, yeah. Which button you pushing? I'll have to line them all up back there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Quick question. I've received some emails from parents who children already are on an IEP, receive the scholarship. Their concern is that this is going to vastly expand the program and cut into funding. Have you heard those same concerns?
I'm surprised that a parent of a child that utilizes this scholarship would say that, because the parents that were in committee testified in favor of this because of the importance of what it's done for their child's education. So it will not cut into the funding on it, because you're basically using the FTE funds that are allocated by the Department of Education, and that's what the scholarship amount is. Whatever the individual student's score is when they're categorized for their special needs services, that's how they come up with the funding and the quantification of that QBE formula.
Okay, one more question. So this would pull additional money from the public school system, or is it?
No, sir. So I live in Dahlonega, Lumpkin County. If I decide to take my child to Dawson County to live, then the school in Lumpkin County would not get the QBE funding from the state in Lumpkin County, but it would go to the Dawson County school if that's where I take my child. So the same thing would apply here. If your child has a 504 diagnosis, then you would be able to take that child from that Lumpkin County school to another school that offers those services, and that QBE money would follow your child.
I lied, one more.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
Yes, sir.
So let me get this straight. But currently 504 students do not get the special needs scholarship. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And this would then move it to not only other public schools, but private schools as well, right?
There are roughly...
If there's one available in your county, because a lot of counties don't have them.
And there's not one in Lumpkin County. That's correct.
Okay. Chairman Setzler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the author, I appreciate your sharing with the gentleman. Isn't it true that if a family were to leave one county and go to another county because the dollars follow them, this has no impact whether a family leaves a county, moves to another county, or leaves a county and goes to one of these private entities. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
So our local school system that's serving these kids, also isn't it true that there are families that have to feel like they have to move because their current circumstance is not serving their kid well? This could allow families to not have to move to another county just to be served in a way that serves their kid. Isn't that true?
Absolutely. Very true.
And one last question, Mr. Chairman. Isn't it true that when, because it's only the state dollars that's following the kids, the local dollars are left behind?
That is also correct.
And because of that, I would just share with Representative Wilkerson, when that happens, the state money leaves, local money stays, per pupil funding in the school district, the student leaves goes up because the local money that's been funding that child stays behind, and there's no kid to educate it anymore. So this guarantees every kid that takes this program, per pupil funding in that school district, when they leave, goes up to serve the other kids better.
Thank you, Representative Setzer.
Whip Kelly. Oh, Majority Leader Burns.
Mr. Chairman, does this also help our military folks to make sure that they're taken care of, and certainly those children that may be that have been adopted or in the process, that make sure they're taken care of and extend some coverage to them that would be very, very beneficial?
Yes, sir, it does, Mr. Leader. Thank you for asking that.
Okay. No more questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
All right, we're going to skip. We've got 3 bills that will be presented tomorrow that had been scheduled for today. They're being held for because that Judiciary Committee has about 12 or 15 bills that they're going to try to get out this morning that are House bills. So I'm going to call on Senator Miller. Did I see Senator? Hey, Ms. Lewis, let Senator Watson come in because he's on that Judiciary Committee. We want him to get back to work. Yes, sir. This is Senate Bill 235.
Right. So this has to do with the emergency orders that Governor Kemp made, because prior to his emergency orders, to wear a mask in the state of Georgia was illegal. So this, after the emergency orders are over, this will allow people to wear masks under the direction of their health care provider or to prevent illness. And that's basically all it does.
Okay. Well, I see no questions. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, now, Senator Miller. Well, that's not Senator Miller. Senator Harbin. This is your first time here this year.
It is, sir. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, you may say that now, but go ahead. Senate Bill 156.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Senate Bill 156. It is a bill that creates the Commissioner of Chief Labor, dealing with the issues that we've had with the Labor Department and trying to provide help to them to get out reports and things of that nature. If you look at the bill, it is the duty of that person to provide timely reports and to respond to any financial audits of the department's request. This person will be appointed by the Speaker of the House and confirmed by the Senate Committee on Government Oversight. He or she will serve at the pleasure of the Speaker and be removed by the Speaker with a confirmation of the Senate Oversight Committee. The Commissioner of Labor shall provide the Chief Labor Officer with sufficient funds. Those have already been provided for. I confirmed that with Senator Tillery. So the funds have already been appropriated. As far as that, the Commissioner of Labor will have access to the information and records to be provided on a timely basis. This also has a sunset provision of December 31st, 2002. And it's to help get information out that is needed financially and the reports on a timely basis.
Okay. Whip Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, as I read through the responsibilities of this new chief labor officer, it hits me that a lot of this probably could or should be being done by the labor commissioner. Would you agree with that assessment? And could you tell me if you feel like there has been a dereliction of that duty to the point that we need to do this?
From those who have spoken with me, there needs to be a timeliness so that we do not have any risk of our financial ratings and other things, and that the reports be done timely. And with all that's gone on, with COVID and all the things that are there, this department has had an overload, and what we're trying to do is help the workers and help the people that are there with additional help that this person would provide.
Representative Hughley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the author of the bill, would you speak a little bit about the coordination between this position and the Department of Labor Commissioner? Who's on first, who's on second? Is one in charge of the other? Tell me more about that.
As it's currently written, he runs independently, if you look, and also reports back to the Speaker and to the Senate Committee on Oversight. From that standpoint, what our thoughts were is that it would be someone who could assist and help in getting timely reports back to us from that posture.
Okay, who's number 75? Chairman Knight.
Thank you. To my friend and my senator.
Bless your heart.
No, he's pretty good.
He's pretty good.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's
Yeah, well, he and I worked a lot over the last few years.
I think as I read this, and especially I'm looking at line 42, I think what you're trying to do is to help the Department of Labor by adding some resources, especially during this time, because I see that there's a code section, basically a sunset, if I'm not mistaken, that would sunset this unless it's reenacted by the General Assembly in December of 22. Is that correct?
That is correct. I think we're hoping we're out of this COVID thing before that time, and this is a temporary relief issue to provide additional help.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Wilkinson, let me find your button here. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the author, I think we are all experiencing this where we submit a claim to the Department of Labor for a constituent, and then we call them and ask them for an update, and they tell us we can't by law. And one of the possible solutions is that something gets reported back to the House as far as status of claims. Will this help us at all with our constituents on their claim processing, or is this just more of an administrative function?
The original one had a little more authority in it as far as that, and one of the things we've talked about is having the ability for our offices to be able to at least see status of what a claim is and where it is, because like everyone, that's coming in so fast, and these things do take time because of all the checks that have to be done legally. But it would be our hope that this would relieve a little bit of pressure in other areas so that they can concentrate on getting Georgians the money that's really belonged to them, that we need to get it out. So this is a hope that this help would help speed up that whole process.
But is there a way that when Mrs. Jones calls me and asks me about her status, that we could put in this bill that we would be able to get an update on a status on a particular person? Is there a way to add that to this bill?
I would be open to an amendment. If you can put an amendment together to help us, I think that's another part that we serve those people, because of the logjam that's there, to be very honest. And this is, I hate to say, once in a lifetime experience, but we need to realize that there are people who are frustrated, and I've had multiple calls, just like I'm sure you have from your constituents.
Thank you. I can get that today.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Ms. Cooper, did you push the button behind you? Looks like. Okay, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the author of the bill, I've heard and I've listened very closely, and I think everybody agrees we've got a mess now. But the problem is, we get this appointment. We're not good at getting rid of things when the problem goes away. After the pandemic, it's still going to be in place with the same cost. then how do we justify?
Well, if you look at line 42, on December 31st, 22, this position goes away. There's a sunset provision on it.
Oh, I'm sure looking forward to that sunset. It'll be an interesting day.
I would agree with you, sir.
Okay, no more questions. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too. Okay. Is Senator Miller here? He's not here. Okay. Senator Payne here. Okay. I think I saw Senator Brass out there a while ago. Let's let him in then. Morning, sir.
Morning, Mr. Chairman.
You got Senate Bill 246. What does that do?
Yes, sir. This is in response to the pandemic. Obviously, the restaurant industry was devastated, and a little something to help them out, just allowing mixed drinks to go. Has to be in a sealed container, no straw hole. Will go either in a locked glove box or behind a third row or in a trunk, very similar to the Merlot to go language.
Are you on 246?
Wait, what?
Because this is a learning pod protection.
Oh, yeah, that one. We're not allowing kids to take drinks. Sorry about that. Got my numbers mixed up. Those aren't too good ones to get mixed up.
Okay, hold on. Whoop Kelly.
I just wanted to know how many of the senator of those to-go drinks has he had this morning?
Maybe I need a couple. All right, sorry. Let me pivot here.
That's all right. 246, the Learning Pod Protection Act.
Well, again, we did learn some things from the pandemic. When kids were forced into virtual school, and we're talking about public education kids, K through 12, they're forced into public school, forced into virtually learning, most of them at home. A lot of parents needed to get back to work. So what we saw really in a lot of our suburban and urban areas, that we saw groups of families kind of grouping together and putting their kids in a home, and so that they could all virtually learn together. You'd have maybe one parent stay with the kids while the other parents went to work, and then they'd kind of alternate, and they became known as learning pods. So what this bill does is it simply says that the state or the local boards can't come in and start forcing these parents to get a license or anything like that. We worked with DECAL on really differentiating the difference in a family child daycare home versus these. So we worked out that language, and so really it's just making sure that these learning pods don't have any undue regulations on them.
Okay, I don't see any questions. Oh, hold on. Chairman Knight.
Thank you to my friend. So just to clarify, we had Georgia citizens come up with solutions to make sure that their child was adequately supervised while the parents continued and could and chose to continue to work. So this was basically a private way of our Georgia citizens to come up with a solution that allowed their children to again learn in a forced sort of environment of tele-learning, if you will, and be adequately supervised.
Chairman Knight, you're exactly right. And the power of the individual is a beautiful thing when put under pressure and having to adapt to a situation. And a parent who's going to fight for their child to make sure that they're adequately learning is a wonderful thing to watch.
Representative Hughley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had a question. In terms of the number of children that can be in a pod, is that specified anywhere?
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I heard the number of children.
The number of children that can be in a pod, is that specified anywhere?
Not in this language, no.
Thanks.
Now, when you get into decals, family child care, home daycare thing, they get into the numbers there, but not in a learning pod.
Chair Lady Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I apologize because I haven't looked at this bill thoroughly. Is this just while the emergency's on and the school is on virtual learning? What happens about going back to school, if the school goes back to in-person?
Right, so a great example, if we tied it to the state of public emergency, one issue you would run into is, if you remember last Friday, schools across the state shut down or delayed start because of the storms. And this is just it allows parents to make a quick decision or really make quick adjustments in a case like that. Because like for my children, I was notified at 4 p.m. the day before that they were going to start school a little bit later. Now, some schools didn't go in at all, and they did all virtual on that day. And so if you're a working parent, you've got to make a quick adjustment. So that would be my fear of tying it to a state of public health emergency, is that in a case of a storm or whatever other disaster that may happen, that could hurt it in that situation.
So you're like the hurricanes that went through South Georgia.
Exactly.
Same kind of situation.
Yes,
Chair
sir.
Lady Cooper, one more question.
But if the schools, and it's not one of those kinds of situation, and the schools have gone back into in-person in the schools, do the children go back into?
Yes, correct.
Okay, that's all.
Correct.
That's.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir. I don't see any more questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Lewis, are any other senators out there? Okay. Senator Smith. There's no other senator out there? Is there Senator Paul Smith out there? Okay, let him come in. Morning, sir.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. I apologize.
Well, you're not a senator.
I am not, thank the good Lord in heaven above.
Well, that was the message that we got, that a senator was out there.
I don't want to downgrade myself, Mr. Chairman. I'm a proud member.
We don't want to downgrade you either. You deserve better.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So you're going to do Senator Jones's Senate Bill 78, correct?
Yes,
You're
sir.
carrying it on the House floor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I bring before you Senate Bill 78. This is a bill that you've probably heard about. It's concerning revenge porn. This is basically a bill to address a situation where an individual uploads a video of someone else to a pornographic website without their consent. And if you'll look within the bill, the penalty under this legislation, for the first time that someone would do this, this would be sentenced or charged as a misdemeanor of a high and aggravated nature. And upon a second or subsequent violation of this code section, it would then be a felony.
What's the sentence on the first one?
The sentence one, a misdemeanor of a high and aggravated nature, basically it's a misdemeanor, except instead of a $1,000 maximum fine, you go up to a $5,000 maximum fine, is my understanding.
Any jail time?
It could be jail time, could be up to 12 months.
Okay.
So, and this is a problem that we have seen occur for years and years now, just with the advent of the internet becoming more and more accessible to our population. So this is really putting teeth in our code section to actually make this a more deterrent law.
Okay. Chairman Martin.
I don't know why. Gentlemen, yield for a question. I don't know why I feel like I need to ask this, but I do. This is someone that does this purposely, correct? I mean, I just want to make that clear. There's so many, I mean, again, I'm not into making these types of photographs, I mean, I just don't want to go down that road.
I'm gonna cut you off there. So.
No, but I do want to make clear that folks that might do that, their phones are backed up and things that get out there. So I just want to make sure we don't inadvertently catch somebody and send them to jail for 12 months or $5,000 for something inadvertent. That's taken care of in the language.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This you would have to intentionally do that.
That's all I wanted to do. It was an intentional act. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Thank you.
Okay, Representative Hughley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm almost afraid to ask the question, but my concern is for children, our teenagers. Do we have protections in place where we're not going to inadvertently catch teenagers who may be technically guilty of this? You know, while you're in high school, you know.
Sure. Well, I appreciate the question. And what I would say is we already have the law that where someone that is of a certain age and acts in a manner as an adult would, they are no longer acting as what we would consider a child to act. If they're acting in that manner as an adult would, then yes, you could very well have someone that was a teenager that did this that could be prosecuted under this law. Now, I can't speak for prosecutorial discretion. We still give a lot of discretion to our prosecutors as to how they draw this up and whether they'd want to send this down to juvenile court or not. So it wouldn't take away that discretion, but there could be a hypothetical situation where they could be charged under this law.
Chairman Setzler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the lady's question, Representative Hughley, great question. We talked about that in committee. I would just highlight on behalf of the gentleman that what we've created here is high school students that are sharing these pictures with other high school kids. That's still a misdemeanor. What we've created here, though, and what Senator Jones, I think, is very carefully done, is on lines 20 through 24 and 30 through 34, is if you post it, however, not to people, but to a website, peer-to-peer sharing file, and these movie galleries that have hundreds of millions of viewers around the world looking at these things, that's where it gives rise to a felony. So kids sharing stuff, people doing an ugly revenge porn circumstance, still misdemeanor. Post it for global viewing, that becomes a felony.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you,
All right, no more questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
I don't remember what color badge the senators are wearing now, but I don't want to ever see you in one. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll do my best not to.
Okay, that's a real step down. Okay, well, that's all the senators and House members that we have to who want to present their bill. I think we have a motion from Whip Kelly as it relates to Senate Bill 82.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would ask that Senate Bill 82 be recommitted, but be committed to the Special Committee on Access to the Civil Justice System.
Got a motion? I hear a second. I got a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's gone back to Special Committee on Access to Civil Justice System. All right. I have a motion now from Secretary Jaspers on Senate Bill 6.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to recommit Senate Bill 6 back to the Ways and Means Committee.
Got a motion and I hear a second?
6.
Got a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's back in Ways and Means. So Senate Bill 6 has been sent back to Ways and Means, and Senate Bill 82 has been recommitted to the Special Committee on Access to Civil Justice System. All right. Now, if y'all remember yesterday, it was voted on that we would limit debate on any of these bills to 1 hour at the discretion of the speaker. We're going to set the supplemental calendar for tomorrow. This is the supplemental calendar. Yeah, okay. Sorry about that, I forgot to. Chairman Stevens, you got a couple of bills here. It's Senate Bill 142 or House Resolution, Senate Resolution 135. Which one you want to do first?
I'll just talk about the Senate resolution because the House bill is just enabling legislation. So I'll go to SR 135.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, this bill came out overwhelmingly out of the Senate, and it is one that allows the Georgia citizens to vote if they want to allow for sports betting as a legal game within the lottery. It makes it disallows anyone 21 years of age or less from participating. It does not allow credit or credit cards to be set up. It disperses the revenue from this between 100 to 150 million, at 40.5% to HOPE, to 12.5% on an opportunity fund, needs-based, 12.5% to rural health, if you will. We've had a hospital close this few months ago in rural Georgia. 12.5% to mental health, 12% to rural broadband. If you might remember, we passed a bill at Crossover Day to try to help broadband, and we've gone a whole year with kids that can't learn because there's no internet. And 3% to promote a revenue-generating sports perpetual fund for major sporting events. Mr. Chairman, it also, in the bill, right sizes our lottery shortfall fund or our lottery reserve to the current 50% reserve, but it also places a ceiling at 60%, and it does it over a period of years. Mr. Chairman, that's what the bill does, but it allows the voters of the state of Georgia to make this decision for another game.
Okay, Senate Speaker Pro Tem.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What is your estimate on what that 3% would generate?
Say that again?
The 3% for the commission.
The 3% would be 3% of 100 million, so what's that, 30?
3 million. So is this to bring in something like World Cup or something
Yes.
like that? I mean, my concern is that $3 million a year seems like a lot of money to set up a structure when, just like we did with the Super Bowl, I mean, if there really is a opportunity for a major, Super Bowl or sports, or not, the World Cup, I mean, the legislature would, at that time, what we've done in the past is evaluate if we need to do a tax break. And so it seems like $3 million a year to set up what could become a jobs program that they could set up this commission for a lot less, maybe 1%, and put the other 2% towards other needs.
I'll accept that as an amendment, 1%.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Chair Lady Cooper.
This is on sports betting?
Yes.
Okay, does this include betting on our colleges?
No.
Okay, so they are out of it totally, because I know that there was real concern with Georgia Tech and the University of Georgia.
In the original bill that we took up yesterday, it was voted to take sports betting out, so that is not included in the current version.
Okay, and it's only sports betting, no horse betting or casinos that were...
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Chairman Smyrie.
Mr. Chairman, this is something that I favor, and I have worked on this for maybe 2 years, and I've talked with you quite a bit about it. But in section on line 89 on page 4, I'm sorry, on line 93. Tell me, the 40 is that 40.5% going to the educational programs? That means that will go to the regular HOPE fund. Is that correct?
That's correct. It goes to traditional HOPE and pre-K.
And Hope right now has about $1 billion, over $1 billion in the reserve, right?
1.2 billion, yes, sir.
1.2 billion. And then the one that we have advocated very, very strongly for and is very known has been the need-based scholarship, because that's categorically aimed at those that need it most. In fact, when we first started Hope we talked about it back in the 90s, it started off as need-based. And it has evolved, and that's my major concern is that that number, putting 40% into a fund that has $1 billion in it in reserve, and then adding the least amount to a category that is needed more than, and I mean, the study says it. In fact, when I talk to a lot of the university presidents, they tell me that their stopgap funds that they use for students that some can't even finish school because they owe $750 and $1,000, and we losing a lot of students and a lot of our young people through the crack. In fact, I visited Georgia Tech one time and talked with their president when Wayne Clough was there, and they started a need-based stopgap fund, and they had a $50 million fundraiser, and they stopped at 85 million, just because that's how important it was that students, you know. So that is a serious situation with me. I just have to put that on the table. Because I chair the board at Fort Valley State University Foundation, and we started one recently, and I'm telling you, there is so much need. There's so much need with these students that can't pay $750, $1,100, and they leave school because they can't afford it. And to me, we're trying to protect that intellectual capital, the human capital in our state, and I advocate that strongly. And so, my last comment, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry for going so long. I agree with the Speaker Pro Tem. I certainly support the marketing aspect of it, which I think is good. But you agreed to her that it was go from 3 to 1. And I was hoping that there was some sort of way that we can have some dialogue. I came to your committee yesterday and watched the debate, and you and Whip did a good job of explaining it, but that really kept me up last night. That's how strong I feel about this issue. It's a major issue, and that 20 plus 1.5%, and if we could get that some kind of way up, then I'm fully supportive of this measure. And I want to tell you, I appreciate working with you over these last 2 or 3 years on this subject matter. You've been very straightforward, you've been very transparent, and I appreciate that, and we've had a great relationship. So, Mr. Chairman, that's the only thing that I'd like to see that we could take a look at, and I've explained this to the whip as well earlier this morning, and that 20.5% for need-based scholarships, I don't oppose the other parts that are in there categorically, but that number, I can't see putting 40%. It's just like my checking account. If I had extra money, I don't think I'd put 40% in where I got $1 billion already in there, and then I would put 20% in there when I'm almost in overdraft. That's my point. If you were at your household, you wouldn't, if you had new money coming in, you wouldn't take 40% where you got $1 billion in your savings account and put 20% in when you got operational and it's a deficit, it's overdrawn. So that's
okay. Thank you, sir. Whip Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to, because as we are talking about funds that are going to be available for some great purposes in Georgia, including expanding access to the university system for the first time in a needs-based way, Mr. Chairman, isn't it true that by eliminating colleges that we're going to miss out on around $70 million worth of revenue, and a large part of that, in fact 60%, would be directly beneficial to the universities who fought this on? And if they're concerned, the concern we heard in committee dealt with the fact that the athletes aren't being paid, that maybe we need to have an even more robust discussion in this legislature, making sure that college athletes get not taken advantage of by some of these universities. Maybe the question doesn't have to be answered, but that's, I'm frustrated that $70 million could have been gone to good use here in our universities, who constantly come to us with their hand out, wanted to take that out of the ability for children to go to school.
Mr. Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Stevens, where are you? I'm sorry, hey, Chairman Stevens, my question gets back to, in your opening remarks, you were talking about how these funds would be spent in order to wager. Did you say no credit cards would be used?
That's true. There is no credit cards allowed. We went back to our position, and that no credit cards or no credit can be extended by those vendors that contract with the lottery. Yes.
I'm just showing my ignorance. How in the world would
debit
a
card
bet be placed?
It would be debit card or a transfer. So there would be no credit.
So it is electronic. It's just limited to debit cards.
Yes.
And further question, if you don't mind, how do we protect our youth from accessing these sports?
Very good question. And in the bill itself, no one under 21 years, whenever you sign up for an account through one of these vendors, you're not allowed to place a bet if you're under 21 years of age.
But how do they know? Everything's online.
It's verified by the time that you set up your account.
Then,
the same way the lottery, I suppose, does it.
Final question. I have to assume that if the state of Georgia expands the gambling business to include electronic betting on sports, I'm assuming that there will be TV ads saying, come bet on your favorite team, bet on the next touchdown, that'll be inundating the airwaves that will entice our children, our youth, into that habit of gambling. Isn't that true?
No, with all due respect, you cannot gamble under 21 years of age, and there's severe penalties if you're caught doing that. And the truth is, you just can't do it. There's a major penalty if somebody's allowed either to gamble under 21 years of age, or if you, what was the other point that I was going to make? Or if they extend credit in any way. Those two issues are pretty solid. And keep in mind, Mr. Chairman, this is going on today. All that we want to do is make it legal and make sure that we have these safeguards placed in there that the lottery has a 2.5-decade history of doing to make sure that this is done in an appropriate way.
Well, final comment. The way that it's been done, and I voted against it in 1992 or 4, and I do, Calvin, Dean Smyer's exactly correct. It was needs-based at that time. I remember that discussion vividly. But and it has done the things that this legislature and state government promised that it would do to the benefit of tens of thousands of students in Georgia. But the way that it's being conducted now, the marketing of it, it is rather limited. I still argue that it was a regressive tax and continues to be a regressive tax. But when we start doing the TV ads, taking the #1 entertainment venues, football, soccer, basketball, that are all of our young adults, let me get to over 21 and older, young adults are this part of their passion and their pastime, and put TV ads on it, all for a relatively little amount of income coming back to the state of Georgia, $100 million. I just think, is it not true that that we'll have social consequences because of this, the next step in gambling?
With all due respect, I don't think so. We've got 1.9 million Georgians that have gotten today the Hope Scholarship. 1.6 million families have gotten pre-K. This money is going to go right back into supporting those folks that have received it, and more importantly, those families that are looking for their children and children's children, as mine do, to benefit from this. This is just another lottery game.
Okay, the scoreboard's lit up here, and I think most of this will be done during debate on the House floor, so I'm going to stop all the discussion on this and turn off all the blinking lights. Do you have, what's the other number? 142, are you going to?
Mr. Chairman, all this does is it's just the enabling legislation for the Senate resolution, and it's all the details.
Okay. Any questions from anyone? Wilkerson? Who's? Oh, okay, I left you on. Thanks, sir. All right. Chairman Smyrie?
Mr. Chairman, from a process standpoint, with the chair, is there a process where now it could be amended, or what's the wish of the chair? Are we in that posture now? Or
No, sir.
Just take, okay.
Who's back there in the back? Just got Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Chairman Stevens. It's been a long road. But my concern, I just wanted to state on the, there's two pieces here, the CA and then the enabling legislation. I'm just curious as to the clear definition of need-based was much better in the other bill because it was clearly stated on medium income. Everybody under medium income. That was specific. I think it was imported in the bill. The bill that came out of the Senate, 41-10, had 50% in that particular fund. What happened to 30% of the money when it got over here?
Mr. Chairman, we'd left this vague, if you will, as we just took the Senate language. And some of the stuff that we did as far as need-based, I might go back to Whip Kelly for the specific language on that, but it just makes it vague in there.
Okay. All right. No more questions. Thank you, sir. I understand Senator Payne is outside. He has Senate Bill 220. Morning, Senator.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Sorry for my absence. I was chairing the Education Committee.
Oh, that don't matter.
That started at the same time.
Go ahead.
Yes, Chairman of the committee, I'm bringing you Senate Bill 220. This is the Georgia Civics Renewal Act. It's simply to establish the commission, the Georgia Commission on Civics Education. It's now comprised of 17 members. Will be appointed from the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch of our government, including public and private partnerships, is serving on this committee just to make sure and establish that we're teaching proper civics education in our state.
Okay. Whip Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, I certainly appreciate the conversation around civics. I know in your committee right now, the House has sent over a piece of legislation that talks about helping students get taught financial literacy as well. Could you tell us the status on that bill in your committee?
In which committee?
In your committee, the Education Committee.
That bill is we just passed out with a substitute.
What did the substitute do?
The substitute is the Dexter-Mosley.
Is the what?
The Dexter-Mosley language.
So y'all took out financial literacy?
That was what the committee decided to do. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. No more questions.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're going to set the supplemental calendar for tomorrow, and if you'll remember, I think I said earlier that Chairman Hatchett I had passed 33.3 to limit debate to 1 hour, to be distributed at the direction of the speaker. And we don't want to hear what he's got to say over there, do we? Okay. All right. This is a supplemental calendar for tomorrow. HR 406. Do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. SB 46. Do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. Senate Bill 47. Do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Okay, raise your hand. Those opposed. 1, 2. It's on. Senate Bill 213, and these are all, this is under modified structure as was 46 and 47. 213, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Senate Bill 246, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. The next two are on the yellow sheet. Senate Bill 142, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. SR 135, do I hear a move? Got a move and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. It's on. Who said, all no's, raise your hand. You count me?
Trust me?
Yeah, I trust you. It's on. So let me read it one more time. The modified open 406, that'll be carried by Mr. LaHood. Under modified structure 46, it'll be carried by Chairman Cooper. Senate Bill 47 be carried by Mr. Wade. Senate Bill 213, it'll be carried by Mr. Rhodes. Senate Bill 246, it'll be carried by Chairman Jaspers. And I guess 142 and 135 will be carried by Chairman Stevens. That's it. We'll have a meeting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock to set Monday's calendar. But don't forget, this is the supplemental calendar, the first supplemental calendar for tomorrow. Meeting's adjourned.